Hi, I'm going to talk about my experience that I had in my immersion project. I chose to go to Bethany Village, which is a retirement community near my house. Um, Before I started this project, my perceptions of the elderly, I naturally grouped them into the same category. I thought a lot of them were generally miserable and impatient. I also thought a lot of them were forgetful and not very smart. I would have said that I had a lot of limited patience for their limitations, like their slowness of getting around. Thought that was annoying, and I thought that they were. Another generalization I had was I thought that they were always depressed. Um, so that's my first slide. If you're following along on your slide, the next one's the introduction to the community. So Bethany Village, it is a retirement community, um, ages 55 or over. In the community, they have independent living, assisted living, and skilled care. When I observed in the community, they set me up with observing independent living, so that's who I mostly got to be around. So that definitely influenced my observations greatly. Um, so we'll talk more about that later. In the community, there's an East and West campus. Um, and on East or West campus, there's apartments on both campuses and cottages. So it just depends what the um, individuals want and whether they want to live in an apartment or in like a more of a home style. Either place that they live, they can get their lawn done for them. Uh, they have a bunch of options for that. If they live in a cottage, they'll get, like I said, the lawn done. They'll get their tan bark done, that type of thing. They'll get their snow blowed off of their when it snows, or their car cleaned off, that type of thing. So that's really nice. Um, next next slide I have. These are some pictures of when I went to Bunko night. This was the first thing I did to observe in the community. When I first showed up there, I was a little bit skeptical. I had my laptop and that type of thing to take notes, but turns out they kept bugging me to play right off the bat. They're like, come play with us, come play with us. And I was pretty skeptical. I was just like, no, I'm just going to observe for a little, that type of thing. And so I ended up observing for a few minutes, and then the one lady who was helping to run it got up and just handed me her paper and the scorecard, which you can see in the second picture, and was like, go ahead, sit down and play. So I kind of was forced to do it, but it turned out being okay. What Bunko is you roll dice, and it's just kind of a luck game. Um, but yes, as you can see, here are some pictures of the elderly people playing. During this game, everyone was so friendly and so welcoming. A few were pretty serious about the game, but they still had a fun personality. Some of the older men were pretty funny, joking around with me. So yeah, so that was my first experience playing Bunko, and that was the first um, way I immersed myself in their community. So in the next slide, um, while I was at Bunko night, I met Mary Lou, who's in the picture here with Tom. I also met Tom, he was there as well. And I was talking to her, and she said, I asked her if there was a way that I could observe the community through a tour. And I said, could you put me in touch with someone to give me a tour? And she said, I actually give tours. So I was like, great, that's awesome. So I ended up going on a tour with her. We started in her apartment on the West Campus. It was a typical apartment, really nice, with a good view. After that, we toured the entire campus. She drove me around. Then we also got out at East and West, and We looked at the different areas. We walked through and saw the hair place, the place to get your hair done. There's a library. There's a cafe. There's like a ballroom area, a place where they have church, a community room, a rec room, a pool. So there was a lot to offer there. It was almost like a retreat center. It was really cool. I would actually want to live there. um, then after we did the tour, we ate lunch at the cafe, which was really nice. I got to observe a lot of people in their natural environment, which was cool. I got to people with wheelchairs, motorized wheelchairs, canes, walkers. I got to listen to a bunch of people at lunch, like screaming to each other because they couldn't hear. But that was cool. So yeah, that was my time with Mary Lou on my tour. That was another way I got to observe the community. Next is my time with Carol. She was a woman who lived in the community as well. She lived in the cottages, so I met with her at her house. She welcomed me in. She had a nice cup of lemon water for me, and we sat in her living room, showed me around her place. During my time with her, we discussed the dialogue. I kind of picked her brain a lot and was really interested to hear what she had to say. I found out actually that she has a blog, Life with Carol, and here's on the slide, I put the top of her blog. I screenshotted it. It's very interesting if you wanted to check it out. So during this time, it was really nice to get to know her, and she was very, very intellectual. So her answers were very deep and thoughtful, which made it really nice because when she was giving me good answers, it helped me to, really grasp her culture and what she thinks about it. So, yeah, that's my time with Carol, and that was my last thing I did within the community to observe before I would read. For my counseling implications, I need to make sure for my future as a counselor, I need to make sure I develop a broad appreciation and understanding for the elderly culture. I have to understand their physical limitations, such as wheelchairs, etc. I have to make sure I have an environment that's suitable for my clients, bright lights, that type of thing. I want to stay current with legal and ethical issues. I want to make sure to go at the pace of my client and to make sure I'm going slow enough for them or, doing the thing that will best suit them during the counseling session. And I want to stress the importance of a solid support system because as long as they have a solid support system, it will help them it will positively influence them. So, for my reflections of the emergent experience, I really thought that the community was awesome. The people were great. For the majority, everyone I came in contact was very nice, very funny, and really went against my original perceptions of the community. So overall, my experience was a good one. I definitely want to keep in contact with all the elderly that I met, and just make sure that I lower my expectations for people and not make a false judgment about a certain community because I definitely was proved wrong during this experience. So yeah, that was my experience for this elderly population within Bethany Village. Thank you.